Hey guys, welcome to Nigira Techies. This is our React JS tutorial. This video I'm going to explain how to implement CRUD operations using JSON Server REST API. So here I listed out all the steps. We can go one by one. The first step is I'm going to create the React JS application using this below command. So let me go to the command prompt. Here I'm going to execute this command. It will create our React JS application. So basically it will take some time. Okay, great. Our application is created. Now let me open our application from this VS Code. So this is our application. Okay, loaded fine. Let me go to the new terminal. I'm going to install our next package, npm install react router DOM. So this is for routing. Basically in this React application, the routing is not an inbuilt functionality. So we have to install these additional packages. So once it's completed, we have to install this bootstrap for the designing purpose. Okay, great. This router also gets installed. Now I'm going to install this bootstrap. Okay, great. The final one is installing JSON server. So as I mentioned, we are going to use this JSON server REST API. So I have to install it. So already I have installed in my machine. So I'm not going to install it once again. So please use this command and make sure you have to install in your machine this JSON server REST API. Now let me go to the application. Here we can start our changes. So before that I'm going to run this application npm start. Okay, great, our application is running. So in this localhost port of 3000. Okay, this is our default template. Let's make some changes here. So inside the source folder we have this app.js. So let me remove this existing content, the complete header. So let me save it. Here I'm going to provide one h1 tag and the text is React JS. So let me save it. Okay, great. So let me save it. Okay, great. Our text is coming. And the second thing is, so already we have installed this bootstrap. Let me refer this CS file in our application. So for that, in this index.js file, so let me import it. This node models, then bootstrap, then this dist, so then CSS. So here we have to use this bootstrap dot min dot css. Now we have referred this bootstrap in our application. So next thing is I'm going to create our new component, employee listing. So this is one of the JS file. Now I'm going to use this stateless function component. Here I'm going to provide our component name. Okay, this is fine. And the next step is we have to include this routing. So in our app.js file, I'm going to import browser route from React router DOM, then this route, and then this routes. Okay, okay, we have imported. Now I'm going to define my routing here. First I'm going to use this browser router. So inside that I'm going to use this routes. So here we have to include these individual routes. Okay, so let me format it, and my first route is for this employee listing. So I'm going to provide the path value is just empty one, and then I have to choose this element. So this element is nothing but our component only. So for that I'm going to use this employee listing component. Okay, the first route is fine. Now let me go to our employee listing. So in this employee listing, I'm going to use some bootstrap classes. So in the title, I'm going to add one h2 tag, employee listing. So in this card body, we can have one table for showing this employee information. And then this th. So in this th, I'm going to have some classes. So here, let me include all the columns one by one. So the first column is ID, and the second one is name, and third I'm going to use email. Fourth, I'm going to use this phone. So the finally I'm going to use action, and then this t body. So in this t body, we can fetch the data from this API and we can bind dynamically. Okay. So as I mentioned, we are going to use this JSON Server REST API. So let me start my API also. I'm going to for one new terminal. So before that, we can check this existing output. Okay, nothing is loaded. Let me verify it. So already I saved this page. Then let me check in this routing side. Okay, so basically I have to include this routing. So inside this element, let me format it. Okay, it's fine. Okay, see now our table design is coming. Now let me move on this JSON server side. JSON server, then watch db.json, and we have to specify the port also, otherwise it will run in this same 3000 port. So let me put the port is 8000. So currently we don't have this db.json file. It will generate the new db.json file. Okay, you are able to see, right? So here we have some default arrays. It's not required, so let me remove everything. So instead of that, I'm going to provide this is employee. So ID is fine. Then this name, we can provide some default name. So then email. So then we have included this phone. Okay, this is more than fine. So now our employee API also it's ready. So let me verify it. Yes, it is returning some data. Now we can bind the same data in our table. Okay. So let me go to this employee listing page. So here I'm going to use this use f8 hook. So then this dependency, I'm going to provide this empty array. So here I'm going to use this fetch option. So this fetch option, we have to pass this API URL. Okay, this is fine. And then I'm going to use this then. So it will return some data. I'm going to convert into JSON format. So again, then let me write this callback function. So finally, we have to include this catch also for capturing this error. If there is any error, I am going to capture in this console. So we can verify, are you able to get all the data? So let me format it. See, now in this console.log, we are able to get this data. So what I'm going to do, so let me define one useState variable. So I use the variable is mData and the function is mDataChange. So initially I'm going to provide the value as null only. So once we have this data, let me update here using this function. Now let me take this variable. So using this variable, I'm going to bind our table body. So for that, we can use the map option. So here, let me generate my tr, and we have to include this key variable here. So here the key is nothing but our ID, because the ID is the only unique value. And then we have to include all of our columns one by one. Okay. So our first column is ID. So the similar way, I'm going to include three more columns. And finally, we can include this action. Okay. So in this action, first I'm going to provide one anchor tag. This is for edit. Okay. And the classes are button and button success. The similar way, I'm going to add two more buttons. So the first one is for remove. So here the class is button danger for showing the red color. And the final one is for details. So now we can see this existing output. Okay, we are getting some error. Okay, null data is coming for this map. So then we have to use this conditional template. So once we have this data in this employee data, then only we are going to do this map. Okay, let me include it. Yes. Okay, see now, so our current data is loaded fine with these options, edit, remove, and details. So here we have to include some space. So in the CSS side, okay, now it is looking fine. So here after we have to focus on the creating new records. So in this M listing page, I'm going to create one button first. So instead of the button, we have one option is called link. So it is available in this React router DOM. So I'm going to use this one. So this one also look like our anchor tag in the HTML. And we can use the same bootstrap classes. Then we have to create the required component. So first one is for create. So m create. The same way I'm going to create two more components. The next one is for edit. And the final one is for this details. Okay, we have created all of our components. And the second thing is we have to include these components in this routing side. So here already we have one route. So let me take this one. I'm going to create one more new route. This is for employee. So the component name is create. So actually it's for employee create, okay? Employee slash create. So the same way we can create two more routes. The next one is for detail. So actually this detail page is for showing this individual employee information. So we have to include one parameter also, MID. The next one is for edit. So for edit scenario also we have to pass this parameter. So here the component is edit. Okay, we have completed this routing side. Now let me move on this create section. So currently we don't have any changes. So let me include some design related steps first. So here whatever classes I am using all are belongs to this bootstrap classes. So first we can include this title, employee create, and let me verify. Okay, the alignment also we need to change, and also when I'm clicking this button it should be navigate our new component. So here what I'm going to do, let me include one class first. So again using this two option we can navigate into our new component. So employee slash create. So this is actually path we have defined in our app component. So the same thing only I'm going to use, right? So now design also fine. So when I'm clicking this button, it is just navigated here. So here we can start our designing, okay? So let me go to this create page. So inside this body section, so label, then this input. So the input class name is form control. So let me format it. So the same way I'm going to create other fields also. So our second field is name, and the third one is email, and the fourth one is phone, and then I am going to have one is active field. So for that I'm going to use this checkbox, form check input, and in this label also I'm going to include one class form check label, and then type also should be checkbox. So let me save it. Okay, all the fields are coming here. The alignment is everything coming is center. So let me change this one. Okay, now it's somewhat fine. And then I'm going to include these buttons also. So there are two buttons. The first one is for save, and the type should be button. Actually, type should be submit. Okay, and the class name is button, then button success. And the next I'm going to have one more button. For that I'm going to use this link option. So for this one I'm going to provide the classes button and button danger. So using these two options we can navigate to our employee listing page. So let me save it. So if I'm clicking this back button, it is just redirecting. Okay, the design is good. The next thing is we have to define all our state variables. Constant one array. The first field is id, and the function name is id change. Okay, so the initial value should be empty, right? So the similar way I'm going to declare four more variables. The next one is name, and this function name also name change, and the third one is email. So the same way the function also should be email change, and this fourth one is phone. So let me change this function name also. So the final one is active. So the function name is active change. So this should be a true or false scenario only. So initially I'm going to provide as true. Then we have to bind all these values here. So the first one is ID, right? So the value is ID. At the same time, this field should be disabled on because the ID we are going to generate in this dynamic manner. And the next one is name. So in this on change, we have to set the values into this name variable. So I'm going to use this function name change. So e dot target dot value. Okay, this is fine, and the same way I'm going to apply for all of our controls. Okay, the final one is checkbox. So here instead of this value we can use this checked option, And also value setting time also, instead of this value we have to use this checked or not. That's it. Now we are almost good to go. So in this container, and let me change this due tag into form. So here I'm going to bind one event also on submit. So the function name is handle submit. So let me define this function also, otherwise it will show some error. Actually I'm not changed the variable name. Yes, fine. Active, and this should be active change. And then we have to use this e dot prevent default for handling this post back. Okay. And when you are submitting, we have to check we are able to get all the values or not. So I'm going to include one console also. So inside this console, I'm going to provide one object. So then ID, name, and the email, and this phone. So final one is active also. So let me verify it. So in the console, we are getting some error. Style property text align. Did you mean text align? Okay, I think React not going to support. So let me change this one. Text align. Yeah, now it's working fine. So if I'm submitting this one, so see now we are getting all the empty values. So let me provide some values. John. So see now whatever value we are given, we are able to get in this object. Okay, great. So the next thing is currently we have this object of data. I'm going to call our services. We can complete this post request. So I'm going to command this one. So here also we are going to use this same fetch option, and let me copy the same URL only. And these steps are same for handling any request. And there is one change was there. Let's see very shortly. Yes. So in this post request, we have to define this is the first request, and also we have to pass some parameters, right? So for that, we have to use one more parameters. So inside that, we have some properties. First one is method. I'm going to provide this as the post. And the second one is header. So in the header, I'm going to pass this object content type. This content type should be application/JSON. So final one is body. So in this body only we are going to pass this data. So currently we have these values. Let me create one object. constant m data equal to, so this is our object. So in this create scenario, id is not required because we are going to generate dynamically. That means our API will generate this id. So let me take this object. Here I'm going to use this JSON dot stringify. Then I'm going to pass this object. Okay. Now we have done. So once it's completed, we have to provide one alert message. Saved successfully. And also we need to redirect into our listing page. So for doing this one, we are going to use this use navigate hook. So let me define it. So use navigate. Let me take this variable. So after this alert message, here I'm going to provide this path name. Okay. Use navigate is called as your function handle submit. Okay, actually we have to declare outside of our function. Okay, now it's fine. So the name is nihira@martin.com, and the phone number I'm providing some values. Is active should be true only. So when I'm submitting, I'm getting this saved successfully message. Okay, this listing also we can see the newly created data, right? And let me show you. So in this db.json file, you can see now we have included one more new record. That means our post request is working fine. And the second thing is, so we not applied any validation. So let me do this one. So basically we can apply validation for all the controls. For this testing purpose, I'm going to include for this name field only. Required. So actually I'm not entered any value. Just clicking this save. See now, please fill out these fields. And if I'm going to this listing page also, there is nothing will happen. That means it's not called our API. And instead of this alert message, if you want provide some custom messages, that also it's possible to include here. So after this input control, I'm going to include one small span tag with the class name of error message, or else we can give text danger. Okay, so the message is enter the name, so that we cannot give blindly. So in this case, I'm going to use one conditional variable here. I mean conditional template concept here. So if our name field has there is no data, that means they'll in this 0, then I'm going to showcase this message, right? See now initially we are having this enter this name. So if I'm providing some values, automatically gets removed the message. So if I'm removed, again I'm getting this name. Okay, so let me refresh it. So page initial load time itself, it's showing this message. It's not fair. That also we can handle. So I'm going to declare one more use state variable. So the name is validation and the function name is val change. The initial value should be false. I'm going to include yes. So after checking this condition, I'm going to check one more condition. If it is true only, I'm going to show this message, right? So our next question is, when this validation variable value going to change? So here we can use this multiple events. So anyway, I'm going to use this mouse down. Okay, let me take the same thing here. So instead of this name change, I'm going to use this val change. So the value should be true. So let me save it. So currently we don't have anything. So if I'm entering here, so I'm getting this message. Then I supposed to pass the value, right? So let me provide some values. Robert. Let me save it once again. So I'm getting saved successfully messages. So now it's redirected once again. Fine. So currently we have these three functions, the edit, remove, and the details. So first let me focus on this details page. Okay. So let me go to our employee listing page. So here we have this link. So let me write on even here on click. So basically we have to pass these parameters. So I have to make like this. So load detail. So this is my function name, and here I'm going to pass one parameter also. So parameter is nothing but our key value ID, right? And the same way I have to apply this even for so these two buttons also. The same way for this delete also. So let me define all the functions one by one. Okay, our first function is ready. The same way I'm going to create two more functions. And here also we need to navigate somewhere. So let me define this navigate also. So first we can start from this detail. So for this details, so we have one route that actually we have defined in our app.js file. So let me take the thing. So instead of this m by id, we have to pass some exact our id. Okay. So let me save it. So remove function is not defined. Okay, this is fine. So if I'm clicking, so it is just a navigator to this details page. So in this detail page, first what we have to do, we need to get this parameter value, right? So let me do this one. So our parameter is m by id. Use params hook will return these values. And then I'm going to use this use f8 hook. So in this use f8 hook, dependency is empty array. So in this f8 hook, I'm going to call our API. So let me take this existing code from our employee listing page. We can reuse it. So in this API, we have to pass this one parameter. Parameter is nothing but our employee ID. Okay, we called our API, and let me declare one use state variable also. Data change. So the initial value should be empty array, or else we can use some empty object also, that is fine. Okay, the next thing is, let's bind the individual employee information, right? H1 mdata dot name, and then the ID is, make sure we have to include everything in this conditional template side, otherwise it will throw some error. Okay, so we are able to see, right? The employee name is John, and the ID actually we are showing in this bracket. So let me make some design, then it should be really interesting. Okay, it's not that much fair. Anyway, we are just showing this employee information, and then we have to bind other fields also. Okay, first email, and the second one is phone number. And here also we can have one button, right? Back to listing. And we can give some classes also, that is fine. So let me save it. See, now this is our detail page. It's somewhat fine, and here we have binded all the informations. So when I'm clicking this back to listing, it is again moving to our listing page. So now we have completed these details, and let me move on this edit. So edit's not going to take that much time, I believe. First let me complete this function for this doing the redirection. Edit. So I'm going to click this edit button. Okay, it's navigated. Now let me go to our details page. So here we have some logics that we supposed to reuse it. So let me copy this use parameters and also this use effect hook. Okay, make sure we have to import it, otherwise it will throw the errors. And this use effect hook also. So currently this one is not required. Let me hold it. Okay, and the next thing is the design is required, so we can copy the whole design available in the our create page. So instead of this return, we can copy the complete HTML content. I'm going to include here. So the next thing is, so we are using some use state variables, so that also required. So let me take everything and this navigate and this function. So all are required things only. So I just copied everything. I'm going to include in our edit page. Okay. So let me save everything. Okay, we are getting error against this use state and also use navigate and then link. So we have to import everything. So let me do one by one. The first one is use state. So you can see it's imported top of that. And the second thing is link. So link, yeah, actually we are used to here. And the final one is use navigate. So now you go to see everything is included. Okay, our issue also got resolved. And the very important thing is this is the edit page and also need to load the existing data. First, I'm going to change this title employee edit. So next we need to load the existing data. So that's what we have this use effort hook. So here we are fetching all the existing records. So that we need to bind it here. So let me take this use state variable function. So the first value should be rest.id. Let me save. See now the data is binded. So in case if I'm providing true, so the true is coming. The similar way we have to bind all the values. So the next one is name change. I can use this resp.name. So let me copy this one. We have to set the values for other fields also. One is email change. Then this phone change. So the final one is active change. So similar way we have to set these exact values. This active, I mean this is active. Then this phone. Then this email. See now all the values are gets binded. Now let me go to our listing page. So here I am going to type this Robert. Robert don't have this phone number. Yes. Okay, we have loaded this existing data. Now let me complete this save function. For the save function also we have copied all the codes. That means existing code we just copied. But here the method type is instead of put we here the method type is put and then this URL we have to pass this ID. Okay. So already we have this ID. This symbol ID. So let me reuse it. And here, so in this object side, we need to include this ID also. Okay, in this phone number field, I'm going to provide some values. So when I'm clicking this save, so I'm getting this saved successfully message. So see now this phone number is updated, right? So that means our edit functionality also gets completed. And the final one is remove. So let me go to this listing page once again. So in this remove function, I'm going to include one confirmation message first. Do you want to remove? So inside that we have to do our server call. So let me go to our edit page. I'm going to copy the same code from here and then in our listing page. Okay, so here this employee ID is required and this method type should be delete, and this headers and this body both are not required, and this text message should be removed. So already we are in this listing page, so we need to refresh our page. So for that I'm going to use this window dot location dot reload option. So let me save it. I'm going to format this page once again. Okay, so now we have completed this function, this coding point of view. I'm going to verify it once again. Okay, this m by id, we are getting this error. Okay, this is id actually. Okay, now it's fine. I'm going to click this remove. I'm getting confirmation message like, do you want to remove? If I'm clicking this OK, so removed successfully. When I'm clicking this OK, so the page got refreshed. So we have completed almost all of our functionality. Let me do my final demo. So when I'm entering this text box, I'm getting this message, enter the name. Here I'm going to provide the values. Here are techies, then our official email, nihira techies@gmail.com, and phone number. So this is not our phone number, I am just rendering something randomly. Then niche active should be okay. So once I'm clicked, I'm getting this saved successfully message. We are redirected, and in this listing all the data are populated. So if I'm clicking this detail page, it is just redirected. So here the employee name, and we have this ID also. Then we can see this contact information. So if I'm clicking this back to listing, again it is coming to our listing page. Now I'm trying to edit this one. I'm going to change this 0 into 2, I mean 3. I'm going to save this once again. I'm getting this message is saved successfully. Okay, so you can see this value got changed, and the final one is remove. So when I'm clicking this remove, I'm getting this confirmation message. Once I'm clicked, I'm getting this removed successfully, and our listing also got refreshed. So if you want to check the data, you just go to this db.json. So whatever data you are seeing in this listing, it is available. So now we are in the end of the video. Still, if you have any doubts or clarification, please post in the comment box. And also please don't forget to subscribe my channel. So in this alert and confirmation, we just use this JavaScript existing features. So basically we can use some traditional notifications so that we can see in the separate video. Thank you. Thanks for watching.